Hi there. We are going to read this article called Antisemitism, A History of Hate. Some highlighting has been done. It is your job to go through and highlight more than what has already been done. We are looking for word gaps. Those are vocabulary words you don't know the meaning of. And numbers and statistics, which could be amounts or it could be dates. We are going to be paying a lot of attention to the dates so that we can make a timeline. Here we go. Antisemitism means prejudice against Jews. People who are anti-Semites don't want their children to marry or even be friends with Jews. Anti-Semites don't like to buy from Jewish businesses. Some anti-Semites burn crosses on the lawns of Jewish homes and paint swastikas on their temples. They blame Jews for everything that's wrong and believe Jews are too smart or too rich or own too much land. If you were Jewish in ancient times, note, not all dates are like 2021, ancient times counts as a date. You might have been enslaved by the Egyptians. You couldn't be a citizen in the ancient Roman Empire. If you were a Jew, Christians sometimes called you Christ killer, an allegation so inflammatory that it became the rallying cry of anti-Semitism for centuries. If you were a Jew in the Middle Ages, that's another time, you are often forced to live in a walled ghetto. Non-Jews didn't want you to influence them or their children, and merchants didn't want your businesses competing with theirs. Outside the gates of your ghetto, you were required to wear an identifying badge. This is the Middle Ages. We're nowhere near the Holocaust yet. At the outbreak of the plague called the Black Death, 1348, you might have been accused of poisoning the water. If you were a Jew in the 15th century, Spain, the Inquisition, a series of religious trials, could have expelled you or worse. There's a little graph here for the plague, the Black Death in Europe. You can see mid-1340. That's normal population and the drop because of the disease and then the slow rebuild. A lot of numbers and stats here on the side too. Between 5 and 6 million people in England, 25 million throughout Europe. It's a lot of people from the plague. Continuing. If you were a German Jew in 1879, you would have been a target of Wilhelm Marr, who taught that Germans belonged to the Aryan master race, quotes around that, while Jews were by nature a slave race, quotes around that. That's because those are Marr's words, not truth. Marr founded the League of Anti-Semitism to keep Germany from being, quote unquote, taken over by Jews. If you were a Russian Jew in 1881, pogroms, or organized attacks, might have caused you and hundreds of thousands of others to immigrate to the United States or to establish colonies in Palestine. In 1923, an embittered young soldier named Adolf Hitler was jailed for his part in a failed government coup. Hitler used his prison time to write Mein Kampf, My Struggle, a book filled with his plans for the creation of the Nazi Party and world domination, his belief in Aryan superiority, and most ominously, his fanatical anti-Semitism. Upon release from prison, Hitler and a group of devoted followers began to preach the philosophy of Nazism, an explosive combination of economic depression in Germany and Hitler's powerful blend of treachery and inflammatory speech-making led to his appointment as chancellor in 1933. In 1934, he was elected president and named himself Führer, or supreme leader. Once in power, Hitler turned anti-Semitism into an official government policy. Within a decade, that policy had led to the murder of nearly 6 million European Jews, as well as gypsies, intellectuals, homosexuals, Marxists, and other quote unquote enemies of the state. While millions were murdered outright through the use of gas chambers and other methods of extermination, hundreds of thousands of others died from disease, starvation, and slave labor. If you look at the map on this side, the concentration camps are located more towards Germany's territory, and the killing centers were off to the west in Poland. Interesting about the placement of their camps. All right, take care.